Hey guys. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Awakens His Rinnegan. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 16, Trials. The drippings of rain cascaded their way down the window as the clouds darkened the afternoon sky in rumbling beauty. It was as if they were to signify some type of unfortunate accident in their occurrence. Something unfortunate did happen that day, something that would forever change the future into unknown territory confusion. An orange-haired young man lay silent on his couch as he replayed the ever-menacing and haunting thoughts that plagued his mind. It was just so defiant of his nature, but he relished the thought of being alone in his own home. Away from everyone and all the sadness, although he couldn't necessarily escape either of them. Naruto sat silently in constant thought. Things felt different to him, and his head was spiraling. No more was it the same as it used to be, and he could only wonder just how far the things will go before he loses himself. Why was this a reality? It seemed so unbelievable. He never put it into perspective that Sakura could actually die. It almost became unbearable to sit at her funeral. Flashback *. The funeral was unusually quiet. No one in the audience was aware that this would happen. Some ninja more than others knew that this was just a part of life. Things happened in the ninja world that just couldn't be helped. They lowered their heads in pity as the spoken words were told. Naruto sat silently as Sakura rested within her coffin. Konan stood quietly behind him in sorrow. She didn't wear any makeup, nor did she wear her vest. She was allowed to wear black for this very rare occasion. This moment was for Naruto. It was for his inner peace. He had to figure this out, even if he didn't like the idea, just as she had to herself. Naruto-kun. I'm sorry. Naruto couldn't believe it. His love died before his very eyes. How could this happen to him? He thought they would end up together, and marry someday. Possibly have a big house with 3 kids and live up to his name as being Hokage. He was hoping for that to happen at least. Now that would never come to pass. This was the ultimate rejection that could be given to him. Naruto couldn't have been more rejected than this. He couldn't have her after all. Smell her. Touch her. Laugh with her. Smile with her. Love with her. Cry with her. Why did this happen? If only he was there faster, it wouldn't have gone this far. He would have saved her and stopped Sasuke from doing this untimely deed. Another stream fell down his cheek as he sat there silently. His body started to heave. He was almost losing himself. Tap *. Naruto's eyes opened wide as he saw Konan's hand on his shoulder. She looked at him in remorse as she saw the color faded from his eyes. He looked dead, and it didn't seem like anything was helping him at all. His sorrow and grief was just only a constant reminder. Naruto-kun. Are you still thinking of the funeral? The orange-haired boy slowly lowered his head. He started crying again with sobs and threw his palms to his face. His hands wiped the heartbreak from his eyes, but it wouldn't stop dripping the pieces. I am such a fool, Konan-chan. He brought his squinted puffy eyes to match hers. I wasn't there to save her in time. It's all my fault. No! Naruto-kun, it's not your fault. It was no one's fault. It was just something that couldn't be changed. Konan looked upon him with determination, just hoping that it would put his thoughts to rest, to at least give him a little mental clarity. Naruto looked at her fiercely as more tears steadily dropped down his whiskered cheeks. Even just the thought of being helpless infuriated him. I would have changed it. She would still be safe with me. Nothing would have happened to her because I would have been protecting her. It would have never been this way. I don't have. Slap. Naruto staggered on his feet as Konan placed her palm across his face. The slap came completely by surprise as he looked at her with shock evident on his face. You can't change anything, Konan stated bluntly. No matter how many times you cry or however many times you say you could have done something, the fact of the matter is that she is gone. You can't continue to live your life and wondering what could have happened. You have to move on from this. Naruto lowered his head again as he slumped in defeat. Naruto-kun. Konan sighed softly and gazed at him in regret. She saw the heartbreak in his eyes. His fire was slowly fading. The strength gave way from his body and he started to swoon. She had to be strong for him. This is his needed moment. She couldn't leave him this way. She gradually walked closer to him, and just before he started to move, she wrapped her arms tightly around his body and left him there. Her hand made it to the back of his scalp, and she gently ruffled his hair in comfort. The shock set into the orange-haired genin as he processed Konan's hug. Air escaped his lungs, but no words emerged from his breath. There was nothing you could do. You saw it yourself. No matter how much time we saved, we wouldn't have been able to stop it. It was her time. Sakura-san can rest peacefully now. You have to move on, Naruto-kun. The tears fell even harder as Naruto started sobbing uncontrollably onto her shirt. It didn't take him long as he started to release all of that built-up stress that he had been bottling up within ever since her death. It's just so hard, Konan-chan. Nothing is the same without her. I don't know what to do anymore. Just relax, Naruto-kun. Everything will be alright. Konan felt her heart break from the intensity of his frailness that began to overtake her. She felt the tears dampen onto her shirt as he trembled and released his stress. Just seeing him this way really left her speechless. This is what she must have looked like whenever she did it to him. Her eyes widened at the realization. I was just like this. Is Naruto really? Konan looked to Naruto slowly, and saw him shivering and grasping at Konan like a newborn child to a mother. Flashback *. The night was dreadful. The earlier portion of the day left her feeling drained. She had no idea it would be this way. Things had become easy recently, and it felt like she would never feel this pain, but it fell before her with no warning. He always promised to be safe. He always promised to be there. He was gone. The silence was deadening and laced thick with tension. Nagato didn't utter a peep and stared blankly in a corner as Konan tried to heal him. He already knew. He knew just how severe the jutsu was. The damage was far beyond repair. The chakra rods shattered and split many different areas of his lower spine, and he could barely move his hands from the damage everything caused. He was lucky to even move at all. She never removed the rods for fear of permanent damage, so she had to work around them to try and mend the few things that she could feel. After she tried everything that she couldn't help but tear up at Nagato's state. She started sniffling as she tried again and kept moving up and down his body to repair something. Anything. Konan. The woman stopped instantly as her name was called. Her eyes widened in worry as Nagato remained face forward and motionless. Go back to your room. I'm fine as I am. No, you're not, she retorted fiercely. Her teeth gnashed in frustration. I have to figure out how to fix you. Just give me time. I can't leave you like this. Nagato remained silent and unmoving. It was a little scary and slightly ominous. He didn't have that fire that she used to see within him, and she wondered just how far her friend truly changed. Just go to your room. I'm paying the price for my actions. Don't worry about me. There is nothing you can do. So please. The man lowered his head and a tear rolled down his cheek as he continued, please leave me be. She never thought it would be that way. Just the thought seemed so foreign to her. She left his sight and ran to her room with it closed off and left nothing to anyone. Not a word was spoken between Konan and Nagato after she left him there for the rest of the night. She could see the lifelessness that echoed in his purple rings, and it only brought on more remorse for their dead comrade, Yahiko. It didn't take him long after she closed the door that he started yelling and throwing things in his room. Konan could only tear up in grief and cry at her friend's behavior. She couldn't do anything for him, and it was just tearing her apart. She opened her door and quickly closed it in a fervent attempt to hide away. She screamed in agony so loud that her teeth rattled from the intensity. After her explosion, she slumped to the floor like a ragdoll and cried pools of tears upon the floor. Her makeup washed up against her skin and left streaks as she continued. She had no comfort. She had no support. Nagato never wanted to speak to her whenever he was in pain this way. She could only vent to herself. She was alone and not a soul really cared that she was this way. She cradled herself deeply within her own legs and arms and lay silent hours after her tears ran dry. It wasn't long until after she stopped crying that she became motionless. Her mind fell victim to the harsh reality of life. She was drained of her very essence. It was only a matter of time. She thought absent-mindedly, it doesn't matter anymore. Life is easier without the heartache. I can't shelter the burden of having someone to love. They would just die in the end. Her thoughts only trailed downward in despair as she continued lying catatonic. This is what I am. This is what I've become. My tears hold no weight if my commitment is only failure. I won't do it anymore. Konan lay there silently as she pushed her thoughts so forcefully and blocked anything that could be redeemable. They were pushed into the far corners of her mind, locked away hoping to never be touched again. She fell asleep, dead to emotion and dead to everyone else around her. No more would anything get the better of her. No more would she live that life of false hope. No more faith. There laid someone who was hurt far beyond what she had ever believed. Never believing that she would ever recover from this. End flashback asterisk. Drip. 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 The blue-haired woman lifted her hand to her face and noticed that her eyes were moist. The revelation shocked her to her very core, remembering just what happened. Her mind was so dark back then. She never believed it to be true. It didn't seem plausible at all. Her grip tightened on Naruto as she held him in her arms. Her heaving increased as she embraced him forcefully, almost suffocating him from the hold. The Jinchuriki brought his head up to realize that she was crying. She was crying again just as he was. He looked at her momentarily with question in his eyes as just for a split second, he forgot about Sakura's death. Not knowing what else to do, he held on to her tighter while Konan's grip matched and didn't want to let go. The woman noticed his stir and realized that it was becoming uncomfortable. She slowly nudged Naruto to his room and surprised him as they looked at each other. He looked into her eyes and saw the genuine feeling behind the gesture. After a solid moment of thought, he nodded his head in agreement and slowly went to his room with her. She lay down on his bed and pushed herself against the pillow to get comfortable. The pillow felt so inviting to her, and her eyes closed momentarily to the sweet sensation. Naruto came around and pushed his knees on top of the mattress. Konan looked at him deeply within his eyes as she observed him moving closer to her frame. She noticed him hesitate as he stopped midway to her. The orange boy was lying on the bed but was giving the woman personal space. Her face lifted to a small half-smile as she noticed his coy demeanor. Noticing his distress, Konan pulled him closer to her and pushed his nose to her neck. She pulled her arms around him and wrapped him deeply within her body. She also wrapped her legs around his own, and that made him worry, but only for a slight second before he relaxed and got lost in the contact. Naruto's arms lowered in defeat as they snaked their way around Konan's figure and gripped her back strongly. He felt even more so the urge to cry. This was the most human contact that anyone has ever given him. She almost felt familiar to him. Konan didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but she felt that this was the best thing to do. Her tears kept flowing even though she didn't feel any sadness. She just felt joy. The most joy any person could ever feel. She felt this feeling deep within that was just bubbling to the surface. It was all because of him. This light that he carried around. Everything about him made everything better, Naruto-kun. Thank you for everything that you have done for me, she whispered softly to him as she continued. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you. You really pulled me from what I used to be, and I never thought I would ever recover from this emotional failure. You've proved me wrong and I couldn't be happier. Just thank you, Naruto. You really gave me order within my mind. Naruto? She slowly pushed him to see if he was awake. What she got was a loud snore and a moved leg. She giggled softly as she slowly looked down to his face. She saw the wet stains that were left on his face due to the earlier emotional sessions, but saw this peaceful expression that laid upon his whiskered face that defied his earlier episode. Konan's eyes darted from left to right in embarrassment, and unsure if she should do it. I don't think it should be a problem. After all, he did do so much for me. It's the least I can do. Her eyes lowered half-closed as she smiled at his sleeping form. Before she knew it, she lowered her mouth to his face and softly kissed his forehead. Surprisingly, she stayed there for several moments before she removed it a little quickly for fear of Naruto waking up. I don't ever want to lose you. Please don't leave me either. You're the only thing I have left. Her eyes fell closed and the warmth from Naruto really drew her to snuggle a little more deeply into him. The body contact was so nice that she could lay in bliss from this embrace forever. She hasn't had this in a long time. Chapter 17, Unknown Future. Warmth. Warmth filled Naruto's mind as he thought such sweet thoughts. Never was there a time he felt calmer than this moment in time. Nothing could compare to this blissful silence that encumbered him and his bedroom. The dreams that he replayed in his mind were nice. It wasn't like usual, and he couldn't remember a time that he slept through the entire night without waking up. That in itself was unusual in the least. It was almost like his body was just floating in euphoria. The dreams he had were some of the more wishful ideals. Some of them didn't really make any sense and others were far more interesting than he ever really expected, but the thing that really set them apart the most was the fact that they were all calming and soothing dreams. He didn't have one nightmare last night, and that was a very big change to what he was used to. His eyes were left closed, and the heat that protruded to his face was so relaxing that he pushed his face further into the softness. He wanted the feeling to last longer. He didn't really pay attention because his mind was groggy, but he didn't really care. All he knew was that the bed was too inviting to leave just yet. And mmhhh. Naruto felt something wrap around his head a little more forcefully. He felt something else move underneath the covers and touch his leg. I'm just dreaming, he thought, trying to ignore the weird sensations around his body. He remembered that there were these instances in which he would be dreaming while feeling awake. A couple of years ago, he asked Jiraiya about these strange phenomena that occur, and the sage only replied that they were something called lucid dreams. The orange-haired boy liked the term and it fit the scenario very well. He was just dreaming. That's all. Nothing more. Nothing less. He would eventually wake up entirely, and just realize it was nothing. He pushed a little further into his pillow and relaxed his body again. Once more, the force pulled his face closer, and his nose pushed deeply within the soft texture. He felt a warm air hit his head as a sigh echoed throughout the room. Wait a minute. Something's not right. This feels too real to be a dream. And I can't breathe. He slowly cracked his heavy eyelids open to reveal his deep blue eyes, and then it dawned on him. The thought struck him instantly and he panicked. That's right. I was crying and Konan comforted me. We fell asleep together. His mind screeched to a halt as he put everything together. His face was pushed very roughly against Konan's. His face was touching. Getting better associated to his laying position, he realized a few other unexpected occurrences. His right arm was laid over her waist and placed against her bottom. His pupils dilated as he registered this exciting feeling that laid across his palm. As these thoughts raced around his mind, he realized that he had to use the restroom, really badly. Then he realized something far more dangerous was approaching as he felt his lower region was as stiff as a board. It's touching her. Oh my God! I'm so dead if she wakes up this way. What do I do? Naruto asked himself and thought, I should think this rationally. I am a ninja after all, and this could be a life or death situation. He decided that he should first move his hand off of her butt and slide upwards so it would seem as if he were still sleeping and it could rest somewhere on her upper torso. He took a soft and uneasy breath and started to slowly move his hand. It rubbed slowly against the fabric of her pants as he continued to move upward. Tensions rose highly as he continued playing with fire. Feeling the hand finally leaving the waistband, he breathed a sigh of relief. Good. Now just a little further. Do you feel better, Naruto-kun? His heart stopped beating and his mind fell into an empty abyss. The unthinkable voice echoed in the room, completely shattering the silence that blanketed the room for so long. His mouth was far too dry to answer that question. Licking his lips and clearing his throat, he answered, Why yeah? There was no answer back after some moments, and Naruto became scared of what was about to be said next. I hope she doesn't bring it up. Please don't say anything about it. Please don't dash. Good, she replied sleepily, completely unfazed by their embrace. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Naruto thought in relief. Sighing softly, he asked, Do you think we should get up now? No, Konan said in a soft pout, I think. I want to lay like this for a little longer. Naruto blushed heavily at her response. She didn't want to get up? That was a first. Was she actually enjoying their embrace? Although he was quite sure that she was too tired to notice their predicament, he still didn't mind the fact that maybe he enjoyed this position for more than he would have thought possible before. Knowing that he had to use the restroom, he reluctantly sighed in defeat as he started to get up. Konan whined softly as Naruto pulled himself off of her and stretched his wide shoulders apart. He placed his hands over his crotch and stumbled over his own feet while making his way to the only escape that he had from their little snuggle. A click echoed throughout the room as Konan laid in a half-sleepy daze. The light danced on the walls as it peeped over her shoulder from the window, silently asking her to wake up. She winced lightly as she sat up and threw her hands in the air. A loud moan elicited from her mouth as the muscles stretched throughout her body. That was the best sleep I've ever had, she thought absent-mindedly. She looked over to her right and saw a small brown bird resting on the windowsill. A smile crept upon her face and she slowly strolled over to the bird. Such a fascinating little animal. Although butterflies were always first on her list, Konan always had an admiration for birds. She loved flying creatures. Just the thought of flight sent wonderful imagery to her mind. She always used to imagine soaring over the skies and through the horizon to see the beautiful scenery. Those thoughts made her think of another reason why she wanted to fly. She wanted to get away. When she lost her parents and was left for dead, she just wanted an escape. Flying felt free and adventurous. It was a way to break free from her emotional chains. She just wanted that freedom away from the pain and the loneliness. After she met Yahiko, those feelings became less and less, but she still daydreamed of reaching the clouds. She softly opened the window and gently lowered her hand to the bird. It chirped once before landing on her index finger happily. Konan chuckled softly at the little bird's display. Man, Konan-chan, you have a way with animals. Konan turned to see Naruto smiling warmly at her. The bird felt intimidated before it quickly flew away into the trees and out of sight. Sigh, Naruto-kun, how are you feeling? Konan brushed her hair softly away, parting with intertwining fingers. Her eyes glowed softly from the sun as she looked upon his face for an answer. Eh? Hey, let's not worry about that, he replied with a soft chuckle. I'm okay now. It's not really a big deal anymore. Why am I saying that? Her features softened upon his answer, but still, she couldn't help but feel that maybe his answer wasn't entirely true. Sakura's death was a big tragedy to everyone in the Leaf Village, but it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to Naruto. It wasn't just his crush. It was one of his best friends. Someone he was trying to help. It was an important goal that he had to accomplish. Naruto-kun, she started seriously, what are your plans now about Sasuke? Are you going to still go after him? The boy's smile faded as his gaze faltered to the floor. For some reason, the carpet was more interesting than usual. Konan, noticing his unusual reaction, quickly continued, I mean, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. I was just... Well, never mind, she pivoted on her heel and sauntered to the bedroom door. I'll just make us breakfast. Without much time wasted, she smiled awkwardly and exited the room, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. What am I going to do? He thought quietly. His mouth tightened into a line while he rested on the bed. Sasuke. His teeth clenched in resentment at the thought of his longtime friend. You killed Sakura. How could you? His fist slammed forcefully on the sun-bathed blankets, causing particles to scatter like pixie dust. Sasuke, I don't know if I can forgive you for this. You betrayed us. You betrayed everyone. The orange-haired boy sighed in exasperation. I can only hope. Maybe you have something left within you. The blue-haired woman cooked absent-mindedly, occasionally stirring the soup within the pot. Her eyes would look over the boiling contents, but was never actually looking at them. She was preoccupied with this disturbance. Maybe I should have asked more questions. Dug a little further. Maybe Naruto would have been more eased. No, that won't work. These wounds are still fresh for him. A loud thumping echoed through the empty hallway. Its sound was deafening, or at least it seemed that way. Konan looked over and saw Naruto with a blank expression as his heavy feet slowly thrashed the wooden floors. Without looking at the other occupant in the room, he grabbed some bowls from the shelf and placed them on the counter before he sat down and proceeded to twiddle his thumbs. Konan grabbed his bowl and quickly poured some of the soup with many vegetables within. After all of the food that the villagers gave Naruto, he had too many foods stacked upon stacks. She decided to help him get rid of it. It was a good thing that she knew how to cook. She poured more of the soup into her bowl and sat down adjacent to the stumped boy. Sorry that it's not ramen. I know you wanted some, but we have so much food in the house that I have to use some of it at least. Naruto snapped out of his daze and considered his food. Oh hey, you made us food. Wow. A smile etched across his face as he observed the steam that protruded from his meal. He took a big whiff and breathed out in happiness. Man, this smells amazing. Not as great as ramen of course, but still this comes very close. Ignoring that blunt remark, Konan smiled when she saw Naruto munching away at his soup. Yes, we have too much food at home. Even this morning, I found some eggs, bread, and a few canned foods laying at the front door. It seems even now, the people in your village really are thankful you saved them. Naruto mumbled as he scarfed down the vegetables to his never-ending ramen stomach. Gulp, yeah, I don't know what to say to them. I don't want to be rude or anything, and I actually kinda like the hospitality that has been given to me recently. The blue-haired woman continued to smile. She knew that Naruto really enjoyed this. It was his shining moment. He achieved a victory for his village. Konan remembered Nagato but quickly shoved those thoughts down. What am I doing? Now's not the time to think about that. They ate silently for a while. It seemed a little awkward because normally they would both smile and have a seemingly infinite conversation, but here they are, both sides couldn't even start anything remotely interesting. It came down to the last moment. Naruto got up and decided to get another bowl of soup. Konan noticed. No, Naruto-kun, I can get it for you. You don't have to get up. Nah, it's okay Konan-chan, he replied softly while lifting the lid. I can get it myself. It's not a problem. Naruto-kun, you should just rest, she said while she attempted to grab for his bowl. You've been I can do it on my own. The boy screamed while ripping the bowl from her fingertips. I don't need anyone's help. Konan's eyes widened at Naruto's outburst. Naruto-kun. The Jinchuriki sighed with furrowed eyebrows. He surprised himself with his words more than he would like to admit. He gazed into Konan's eyes and saw sadness and confusion within her bright amber irises. It was amazing to Naruto how much he could see just from her eyes, and right now, he was seeing something that he didn't want to see. He mindlessly placed his bowl on the counter and turned to Konan. She followed his movements with her eyes and noticed his disdain and forlorn afterthought that came to him without much haste. Suddenly, she felt two arms embrace her figure and a chin pressed against her shoulder. After a few moments, she closed her eyes and involuntarily sighed in his squeeze. Unknowingly to Konan, his arms felt comforting to her, and every time they did this, she could only let go of whatever it was she was feeling. Sorry, Konan-chan, he mumbled over her shoulder. I shouldn't have done that. I honestly don't know what came over me. I've been more emotional than usual. She sighed. There's no need to apologize. I understand. Pulling him apart from her, she smiled at him genuinely. You're still upset, and it's okay. I believe you will find whatever answer you need within your heart. I have complete faith in you. Naruto stared at the woman in front of him. Her words made him feel warm within his stomach. No one has ever made him feel that way. Sakura probably made him have butterflies, but his love was unrequited. He knew deep down that maybe he shouldn't chase after Sakura because of her unforgiving love towards Sasuke. Still, there was that piece of him that told him to keep trying again and again. Maybe after all of that, then he would finally get an answer that he had been wanting all along. But what is this? Naruto didn't understand what he was feeling. Konan-chan. Without warning, Naruto grasped her again. This time, he held her firmly and didn't give her any wiggle room. And Naruto? Konan breathed out. I'm sorry. He bellowed uncontrollably. I don't want to stop. This hug didn't feel like a normal hug. She felt a wanting from Naruto that wasn't usual with their other hugs. He didn't utter a peep as he continued his actions. Konan tried to move but to no avail. His strength from his training has really shown in this moment, and she couldn't deny that maybe she was liking it more than she would care to admit. Her arms fell down in defeat, and her eyes closed in satisfaction. She started feeling an uncertain sensation within her body, and it made her nervous. That sensation felt strangely warmer than she remembered. Am I blushing? I'm blushing. I can't be blushing because of him. Eh? We might have summoned you at the wrong time. Huh? Both Naruto and Konan's eyes opened wide when they heard that. It wasn't either of their voices, and Naruto heard it as well, so hearing voices in her head wasn't the answer either. It smells different. Weren't they alone? Hey! Don acts surprised. We reverse summoned you before, a small female toad shrieked. Oh wait, I was reverse summoned? Questioned Naruto as he rotated his head to look at his surroundings. He was indeed at empty Myoboku. The humid temperature was mainly the telltale sign, but it wasn't long before he noticed that he was within the toad's home. Yeah, my boy, a male toad replied rather happily, and not a moment too soon either. Well, maybe a little soon. Huh, what do you mean? Ahem, the lass in your arms, the female toad answered sneakily. Naruto turned and saw his tight embrace still in effect with the woman in his arms. He saw the embarrassed look on Konan's face and, was she blushing? He ripped his arms away from her quickly while apologizing over and over again. Konan repeatedly tried to calm him down, but he seemed to be in his own world. Naruto, my boy, glad I could see ya again. The male toad replied happily, but puttin' all that aside, we gotta take you to the great Lord Elder. He has some divine tellin' for your future you need to hear. Naruto seemed intrigued from the toad's response and glimpsed over at Konan. Oh, okay, Konan-chan, you will have to sit here while I… Actually, Naruto, the male toad interjected, grabbing the attention of both humans, bring the lass with you too. This concerns her as well. Wait, you can't be serious, Konan replied uneasily. What does this have to do with me? We're not sure, the female toad spoke up. He only said that he needs to see a female with blue hair. I don't know. Naruto and Konan both exchanged glances at each other before Naruto grinned. Okay. Let's go see Gramps Sage. There was a pitter-patter of feet along the dirt and grass. The toads kept the lead as Naruto and Konan fell slightly behind. Konan observed the scenery around her while they walked closer to the elder toad's location. She had such awe on her face, and it made a small upward curve form on Naruto's lips as he watched her curiosity peak. You've never actually seen anything like this before, have you? No, I haven't seen anything like this at all, the woman said in wonder. I have been to several countries, but this realm is unlike any habitat I have ever had the chance to encounter. It's beautiful. Yeah, I've been here a bunch of times, but this is only your second time being here, the orange-haired boy responded while laying his hands behind his head. What? The shock clearly evident upon her face. I've been here before? Oh yeah, the male toad's mind clicked. I remember now. You're the last the Naruto brought in. He went through a lot of trouble bringing you back to his village. He even got the other toads in a fuss fair using the reverse summon technique. But I swear I ain't never seen such a passion in a young man's eyes than I did when he told us about ya. His eyes glanced to Konan. He really had ta get ya, and he ain't such a bad kid, so we did him a favor. At first I didn't think it would work, Naruto replied rather dully. I brought myself to empty Myoboku when I realized they could summon me. The only bad part was that they told me that I could only be reverse summoned from my previous location, another toad summoner, or from a special toad teleportation seal. His eyes darted downward when past memories began flourishing his mind. The toads told me it was impossible to summon myself on my old master. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, the paper user replied solemnly with clasped hands. If I could have taken it back, I would have already done it long ago. No, no! The boy retorted, dismissing her apology, and gave a half-convincing smile. It's okay. I'm sure Jiraiya-sama would be kinda glad how things worked out. It's okay, really. He looked over and knew Konan was feeling guilty for helping kill their mentor. But Naruto knew that deep down, she never wanted this to happen. Pushing all of that aside for the moment, he continued, the only other option that I had was using a special toad teleportation seal. The pervy sage actually had an escape just in case he was in danger. Remember his giant scroll on his back? The woman nodded. Luckily, pervy sage made this seal a long time ago specifically for deadly situations where he knew there was a possibility he wouldn't return. He would leave his scroll that he had on his back at Konoha or somewhere far enough away to give him an escape when it was dire. These two guys, the boy pointed at the two toads, told me that pervy sage dropped his scroll during his fight with Nagato and his paths. This seal can only be used twice, so I summoned myself there and summoned myself back to empty Myoboku after I rescued you, then finally, I was reverse summoned back to Konoha by the toads. You gave us a lot of trouble, you little twit, the female toad hollered, but if it wasn't fair this lady wouldn't been saved. I'm just glad that I made it in time, Naruto responded happily. Who knows what would have happened if I didn't show up? Yeah, Konan answered despondently. Thinking back upon it now sent shivers up her spine. There was no mistake, she was one breath away from death. If Naruto was just a minute later, she would have died. These thoughts haunted her daily, and it was hard to just throw it away as something worthless or useless. Oh. Hey giant Gramps Sage. It's been a while, hasn't it? Naruto yelled loudly at a gargantuan toad on an even larger stone chair. The old toad peered through cracks in his eyelids looking at a blurry orange-haired man in close proximity. I brought the boy for you, great lord, the small male toad responded while hopping next to Naruto. Ah yes, the big toad answered, I have summoned thee, but who are you again? Naruto threw his hands to his face. Gramps forgets everything. I'm Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. Yes. Naruto. That's right. I have summoned you, the toad croaked tiredly. I have not only summoned you, but also an angel with blue hair. Is she with you? My name is Konan. It is an honor to meet you, she bowed politely. The toad smiled a little as he spoke again. Naruto, you will meet an octopus soon. I couldn't see it clearly, but I indeed saw octopus legs. Octopus? Naruto asked incredulously. That is correct, the toad continued. Another vision involves you fighting a being who finds power within his eyes. I already know that, Naruto replied in distaste, and I already have an idea on what I'm going to do. You know what this person is? The toad asked, curious to Naruto's conclusions. Yes, I have a plan, although I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, but I need time to figure it out for myself. The toad's curiosity piqued at Naruto's answer, but he humbly let the boy be. So be it, Uzumaki Naruto. The giant toad's head turned slightly at the woman. Konan, I've had several dreams that contradict one another of you. This brought everyone's attention to the elder toad, including the smaller toads. One shows that you have already deceased, and yet you are still here. It is not common that I have dreams that predict altered realities. How have you survived this long? Uzumaki Naruto saved me from my impending fate. He found me and protected me from the clutches of an evil man with the help of my long-time and deceased friend Nagato, she answered truthfully. If it wasn't for Nagato realizing my conditions and giving Naruto the help he needed to find me, I wouldn't have survived at all. The large toad grunted through his flared, wrinkled nostrils. The one named Nagato somehow caused a shift in fate. Could he see into the future? Given to what has happened before his passing, new futures have appeared in my dreams, he grumbled momentarily before continuing. I saw a blue-haired angel protecting Naruto as the world came together to fight. I will assume that is you, young one, Konan nodded ever so softly. She was known throughout her country as God's angel for her paper wings and being Pain's right hand for anything to do with the village or fighting. I have already indebted myself to Naruto. I will do anything and everything I can to protect him. He is the key to saving all of us. The toad looked over to the woman quietly as he pondered her words. The look gave a serious atmosphere to everyone in the vicinity. Before anyone could speak, the elder toad spoke up. Konan of Amigakure, I have also foreseen you and Naruto working together with the toads and using them to your advantage. Gamatora, the other medium-sized toad left in the room, looked up at the elder. I have also seen you within a dream where you stored yourself within Naruto. You may give the fourth key seal to Naruto. Naruto, Please summon the Toad summoning scroll for Konan to place her name upon. What? Konan quickly retorted with widened eyes. There's no way I can. I can't use. I'm not worthy, Elder Toad Sage. Please forgive me. Fukasaku saw Konan's distress. Take it easy, lass. It's not common that the Elder ever gives the special summoning scroll to just anyone. You should feel proud that you are receiving the right. But I'm not worthy. I've even helped in the death of Jiraiya-sama. There's no way that I can possibly be forgiven for this. Konan-chan, it's alright, Naruto butted in with a smile. They already know about all of this stuff. The Elder Toad seems to like you. I don't know what he's seen, but he is helping us. Konan looked back up to the Elder Toad before she fell to her knees with her head rubbing against the ground. I'm sorry, Elder Toad. Please forgive me for killing your disciple. I promise from this moment forward, I will treat your kind as I would a brother or sister. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I will not let you down. The Elder Toad looked at her sternly before he let out a deep chuckle. Get up, young one. It's all right, the woman mentioned looked up in confusion. You have proven your worth long ago. You have as much right as Naruto to use our prestigious clan. Please, Naruto, gather the scroll and let Konan sign it. Complying to the Elder Toad's commands, the boy bit his thumb, wiped the blood on his palm. He threw several hand seals before he slammed his palm into the ground in a forceful action. Kuchios no Jutsu. Bomph. A bigger toad about the height of Naruto appeared through the thick cloud of smoke. He had orange, bumpy skin and blue markings appeared all over his body in unusual patterns. He only croaked once before he extended the scroll to the party with his slimy tongue. It dropped to the ground with a soft thud as Naruto thanked the toad. With haste, he opened the scroll to the next available slot. His features slowly changed into sadness as he noticed his master's name and prints stored within the scroll. But as quickly as they appeared, Naruto shifted gears and smiled tenderly as he gazed at Konan by his side. Just bite your thumb with enough force to draw blood. Write your name and mark your fingers with blood on the bottom, then you're all set. Gamatora, who's been quietly sitting at the Elder Toad's side, shifted quickly to respond to his commands. Sir, I will pull the 4 seals scroll for ya. He proceeded by expanding his body to shape a scroll in between his body and rolled out the scroll, revealing the entire key. Naruto turned. Just press your fingers in the square. It will give you what you need to perfect the jutsu that Jiraiya told you about. The boy looked at his hand in uncertainty. Could this really be it? This could be a lot harder than I anticipated. Am I really ready? You seem unsure, Naruto-kun, Konan said with a slight frown upon her face. Do you think you're ready for this? Konan-chan, he responded with closed eyes. I know that the 9 tails can consume my will and be set free if I don't do this correctly. My only concern is that I won't be able to get rid of the anger that fills my heart when bad things happen to people close to me. I can't really take it, you know? Konan nodded her head in understanding. She witnessed his rage firsthand and she didn't like it either. But deep down she knew that Naruto can accomplish it. Naruto-kun, I completely understand. It's difficult losing someone close to you or someone that you love. But think of it this way, you will need this chakra to challenge Sasuke, to challenge Madara and help your ultimate goal of saving your friends. Naruto-kun, she placed her hand upon his shoulder, you have to do this for yourself. Show the 9 tails that you can overcome his will. That your will surpasses his will of hatred. I believe in you. Everyone in your village believes you can do anything. Naruto kept his eyes closed in his cloud of thoughts. He felt the fire fill his belly as his confidence rose to all-time highs, this motivation. It feels good. I can do it. Everyone believes in me. Even Dad said he had faith in me. I have to trust in myself. You're right. I can't get depressed about it now. I have to control it. He smiled bravely, summoned chakra to his fingertips, and pressed his fingers in the square area of the seal. Good, Gamatora replied in finality while closing the scroll. Next step is try and find that octopus. Croak. Huh! Naruto turned as he noticed Gama the toad staring at the young woman. Gama says that you didn't finish writing your name, Gamatora answered. You didn't finish your name? Naruto asked with a snort. How could you forget that? Konan lowered her eyes. I didn't think it was necessary to put my last name. We have to have your full name so we can complete the ritual, Fukusuka said. If you don't put your full name, then you won't be able to summon anything. Konan sighed as she moseyed over to the scroll. She didn't want to put her last name on the scroll, but she had no choice if she wanted to summon the toads effectively. Personally, she was trying to avoid placing her last name for fear of being known, but she couldn't back down now. It's not like I can't trust anyone here. I'm safe here. I trust Naruto. The boy in her thoughts walked over to her, curious to what her last name was because she never told him. He never even heard it. She kept it secretive, and he couldn't lie and say that he didn't want to know. He had asked her once or twice, but she always told him that it wasn't the best time to ask or that she just wanted it to be forgotten. That it was a part of her past that she never wanted to relive ever again. He always abided by her rule and just shrugged it off. It's not like it was hurting anyone anyway. Okay, I finished it. Naruto looked down at the scroll with a laugh and everything in the background went black. His eyes widened at what he saw. His heart sank at what was written down next to his name. There was no way in a million years. It just wasn't possible. How could he not have noticed before? He took it back. Now he knows why she didn't want anyone knowing. It was a dangerous name, especially because of where she was living. Being anonymous is what made her survive all these years. Right above the 5 fingerprints was written in formal letters and fresh red blood. Konan Senju. Chapter 18, Old Ghosts. My parents. I miss them. I miss what it was like to have a family. I miss the cold winter rainy days where Mother and I would sit by the fire while she told me stories. I miss how my father used to hold me when I got scared at night. I miss how my mother would cook delicious meals even if we didn't have much. I miss how Father used to bring animals home to cook. I miss how Mother used to sew Zero the Rain together. I miss having a normal life. Where did it all go wrong? It was a reality where it just wasn't meant to be. Naruto-kun. Soon after they finished the signing, they were reverse summoned back into their home in silence. The woman looked up at the boy in their home once again. It wasn't a surprise to her when she saw the look of confusion laced in his features. To say that he was surprised was an understatement. He was hit by a bombshell far more powerful than anything he has ever heard before. Konan. Senju? He replied as he sat down, but that means you're related to Granny. Yes, it's true, Konan answered solemnly. I can't deny it now. My last name is Senju. One of the only ones that I know are left. The boy let that information sink in. Was she really who she says she is? There isn't a possible way, is there? Why did this information come to the surface now? Too many questions roaming the boy's head caused him to rub his temple. Konan-chan, why didn't you say anything about it until now? I'm pretty sure it was bad, but you could have used your name to your advantage tagging along with Konoha. What? The woman gasped. That wasn't possible. I would have been killed. She sat down next to the orange-haired boy with her head in her hands. You don't know how dangerous my name actually was to Amigakure. Just as quickly as the Uzumaki were slaughtered against their will, my clan was also a high-value target. They gave no remorse to anyone that bore those names. It would have been the end of me had my secret gone out. I only survived by my parents' secrecy. They didn't allow anyone knowing of their last names. They chose a fake name, and I didn't know anything about it until I heard my mother and father fighting one night. I was lucky that my mother wasn't a Senju. I don't have the famous ability that other Senju have. Hey, Naruto replied while laying a hand on her shoulder. He pursed his lips in concentration. Tell me everything. Konan looked at him momentarily in surprise before lowering her eyes. If you say so. I mean it. Tell me everything about you. I want to know what really happened to you when you were younger, he said in conviction. Tell me about Konan Senju. Konan sighed in thought as she tried to put the memories together in her head. Truthfully, she never thought that she would ever have to retell her past until now. Most memories she could recall really left her feeling empty within herself. She didn't like thinking about her past at all, and digging them up now started to take a toll on her. Okay, but promise me that what is said here stays between us. You have to promise me that much. Her sight lowered as she bit her lip. If the time comes and I want anyone else knowing, I will let them know myself. The genin nodded his head softly with a tug at his lips. Okay, Konan-chan. I promise. You have my word as a ninja. She smiled softly while gazing at him in a peculiar way. Okay, Naruto, it's star. Knock knock knock. Huh! Both replied in unison. I'll get the door, Naruto said while heaving forward, pushing his weight up. I wonder who it is. Naruto twisted the cool handle that grazed his fingertips. Opening the door created a draft that wafted through his hair. Yo, Naruto. The boy followed the voice with his eyes to see a lazy eye staring at him. Huh? Kakashi-sensei? What are you doing here? Hopefully I wasn't interrupting anything, the teacher replied casually to the orange-infested boy. Naruto looked at Konan, who gazed at his teacher with curiosity, and saw her slight disappointment. No, not at all, he replied waving his hand in dismissal. We were just talking is all. What do you need? I'm sorry, Naruto, for intruding. I know it's real soon, but you're required for another mission, Kakashi replied coolly. Actually, it's a very important mission. Huh? Naruto replied, dozing off on his hand. Drool lightly dribbled down one side of his mouth as he sat there. What did you say? I said we are almost there, Yamato answered. Geez, Naruto, pay attention. The boy looked around at his surroundings and noticed the rocking of his foundation. But Captain Yamato, you said that a few hours ago. It's been forever now. I'm tired of sitting here waiting. I want to get started on my mission already. Patience, Naruto, the captain replied. We will be there in a moment. Please just relax until then. Naruto sighed in exasperation as he stood up and walked to the railing that overlooked the ocean and rested his chin on his palm. Yeah. He was bored out of his mind. Sitting on a boat didn't really help his eager anticipation of doing something new. After staying in the village and after the death of Sakura, he wanted to go somewhere fresh. Too many bad feelings made him feel claustrophobic. Konan played through his mind while the waves beat against the boat forcefully. Konan being a Senju was really a game changer for him. Not only was she related to the first and second Hokage, she was also related to the fifth. Even reminding himself about that made him shake his head. I wonder what Konan's story was about. She never did get to tell me. He peered to his right and saw the woman sitting against the cabin with her eyes closed. She hasn't said much since we got interrupted. I wonder if she is okay. Konan lay there in silence as she felt the rocking of the boat against the waves. The calmness broke all of the tension within herself and made her rather sleepy. Even through the silence and peace, she still found herself thinking a little upon the near spill of her past. The only ones who knew anything about her were Nagato and Yahiko. She never told Jiraiya about who she was and she didn't want anyone else to know, until now. She just wanted to forget her past that badly. There must have been something in the air. Perhaps Naruto slipped something into her drink while she wasn't watching? No, Naruto would never do that. Maybe she just trusted Naruto to that extent. As a matter of fact, maybe she was trusting the teen a little too much. I trust Naruto. Nagato was right. There was no reason not to. And now. Konan's fingers slid on the cool metal beneath them as she gripped in confusion and sadness. I can't help but be beside him nowadays. I'm worried. Am I becoming too attached to Naruto? She opened her amber eyes and stared at the lone Uzumaki leaning against the railing. He had a very distant look in his face. Her hand moved to her chest as she gazed upon the boy. She felt a warmth within her chest that was unlike any other feeling she had so far. Her hand tightened on the pocket of the vest before her eyebrows arched in perplexity. Naruto-kun, I really wouldn't be here without you. Maybe you mean more to me than I realize. She looked at the boy again and took in his features. His orange hair flowed back and forth in the breeze. His skin was tanned from all of the outside activities he had done. The way his cheeks curved really intrigued the woman into looking at him longer. His blue eyes glowed like the reflections of the ocean. Her eyes lowered softly as she observed his form. A peculiar emotion started rolling in her chest uncomfortably before she shook her head violently and sighed in exasperation. I shouldn't think like that. What am I doing? Crash asterisk. Oh. What the hell was that? The Jinchuriki shouted loudly while gaining his bearing. He rubbed his head furiously from the sudden knock against the railing. He glared to the direction of the sound and saw a peach-colored tentacle gliding against the boat before it crashed back into the water with a loud slap. "Ah, I don't know," Yamato responded hastily. "Whatever it was, I think it's coming back." "It's the squid!" a dark-headed man yelled with one eye closed. "I forgot to mention that there is a monstrous squid in these waters. I don't know how he found us." "Squid?" Naruto asked to himself. "Hey, didn't Gramps say something about an octopus?" "Naruto-kun!" Konan hollered as she blazed across the ship to the teen's side. "This is no time be lost in thought. Be prepared for battle." "Konan's right. We have to be prepared for anything," Yamato responded loudly while leaning into a stance. Water erupted against the boat as a gigantic squid brushed its body against the hull, causing the people to tumble around on the top. The boat began to angle itself sideways, almost capsizing then and there. Naruto tumbled faster and faster to the edge as he struggled to gain composure. "No! Naruto-kun! Grab my hand!" Konan screamed out for him and tried to grab him, but to no avail as he plummeted head-first into the violent water. Yamato's eyes widened as he saw the Jinchuriki plummet into the water. "Naruto! You're out of luck, squid, you hear? I will give you something to fear!" A loud voice boomed as an equally large bull with tentacles came out of the water and slammed the squid with a hard punch that crackled in the air. The squid flew through the sky in a trajectory leading to a distant pat of the ocean before a softer splash was heard, followed by a rough waving boat. "That's Killer B! We're saved!" the one-eyed man yelped in happiness. Naruto floated as his limbs swam lifelessly in the ocean. "My chest feels heavy, it burns. I didn't think it would be this difficult to stay at the top of the water. I can't keep my eyes open anymore." "No!" Naruto yelled as Sasuke violently swung the kunai across Sakura's throat. Sakura's eyes widened as blood splattered all over her paste-colored coat. Naruto's heart shattered into pieces as Sakura's life faded out of her eyes like a dying candle. "Hey, Naruto-kun, can you hear me? Naruto-kun!" Naruto opened his eyes widely and sat up in a confused state. The sun shined brightly through the white billowy curtains that flowed in a soft breeze. A faint bird chirping ensnared the young man into losing his thoughts in the beautiful scenery outside. Momentarily, he looked around the room and quickly realized that it wasn't his room at all. This room was a lot bigger than his old room. The strangest thing about the room was that through all of the new things that occupied this room, there were items from his own apartment that scattered the dresser and corners. He looked to the peach-colored wall and noticed a poster that was an exact replica of the one he had on his wall at home. "Where am I?" he questioned curiously. Before his thoughts carried any further, the door to the room creaked open in a musical fashion, and he saw a bright smile appear before his very eyes. Naruto-kun, the woman's blue hair looked freshly washed and dangled freely against her shoulders. Her face glowed warmly in reflection of the light from the open window, and her eyes also shone brightly colored orange. Her figure was accentuated by a lean on one leg. She wore a white tank top that fit snugly against her body and wore dark-colored shorts that showed off her toned legs. "Konan-chan, what are you doing?" Naruto asked, dumbfounded. She had an unusual look on her that stunned the teen. Her lips curved beautifully in an upward smile. She seemed to have a blush that the Jinchuriki barely noticed. Konan giggled softly at Naruto's antics and started walking towards the bed before she kneeled down on the plush top. "Isn't it obvious, silly? I'm coming to wake you up." Naruto's heartbeat quickened as he saw Konan's eyes turn from sweet to devious. She crawled up to his form and grabbed his shoulder before she planted her lips against his in a solid kiss. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt her body push against him heatedly. Naruto's mind melted as Konan pushed herself onto him so desperately. "You made me this way, Naruto," she mumbled in between kisses. The woman started to run her hand up his shirt before the teen's mind decided to finally kick in. He abruptly stopped the kiss as he pushed her away from him in a desperate attempt to take a breath. "Konan-chan. Why are you? Isn't it obvious?" "I'm trying to wake you up," she replied with a forlorn look upon her face. Naruto became confused at her statement. "What do you mean? I'm already awake." "No, Naruto-kun," Konan answered as she laid her body against him softly. Her hand lay gently against his chest as she tugged softly at his shirt. I want you to wake up. Your warmth is something I've grown to adore. Please don't leave me. You're everything to me. Her body began to heave as she continued speaking. Please wake up, Naruto, wake up. Naruto's eyes opened hesitantly as he awoke to a darkened room. He was lying comfortably on a bed and could feel his lungs hurting. That's right. I fell in the water. We must be at the island now. He tried to get up, but an unknown weight was attached to his shoulder and arm. When his eyes adjusted, he saw a female sleeping against him peacefully. He could feel her breath hitting the side of his cheek as they both laid there. Wanting to get up, Naruto began to move his feet to angle them off of the bed. You're finally awake. The orange-haired teen froze in his movements as he turned his head to see Konan's eyes softly glowing in the darkness. He could feel her concerned stare boring into his own eyes. Why, yeah, was all he could muster. Did she always know when he was awake, or was she watching him the entire time? He wasn't sure, but the more he thought about it, the more disturbing it was. Naruto laid there silently as he felt her fingers glide softly against his forearm, running against the hairs that crossed his arm. Konan-chan. Why are you laying with me? It was Konan's turn to grow silent. Her hand froze against his arm and settled on top of it. I saw you lying in bed sleeping, but you were tossing and turning, so I took it upon myself to lay beside you and give you comfort. Naruto processed that information slowly before Konan continued, if it means anything. You became quiet when I started to pet your arm. Naruto blushed heavily at Konan's response, and swallowed ever so slightly like something was caught in his throat. She has been acting strange these past few days, and Naruto didn't leave it unnoticed. He was starting to feel that maybe Konan was opening up more to him, and he couldn't deny that her pet against his arm was comforting. He sighed as he laid there in silence. He needed to know what happened after I drowned in the ocean. The woman blew air from her tired lungs in a saddened strength. Killer Bee rescued you with one of his tentacles. You were unconscious and weren't breathing when he brought you to the boat, but I quickly resuscitated you. Her hand tightened lightly against his arm as they laid there. The boy noticed a feeling of distress emanating from the woman next to him. I'm sorry I couldn't save you in time. It was strange feeling defenseless in that situation. I should have been better prepared. The teen said nothing to her apology, and caused Konan to lower her eyes in contempt. That's right. She was useless. Completely and utterly useless. Naruto almost died and she couldn't do anything about it. Her mind repeated the same words and regurgitated a known feeling that swept her away in a euphoric disaster. Useless. Careless. Worthless. Unreliable. But just as soon as it became too much, Konan's breath hitched as she felt a warmth touch her fingers. Naruto laid his palm against her hand. You did what you could, the boy replied softly. That's all that matters. You still saved me, and I'm still here and grateful for what you've done. His head turned to face hers as they locked eyesight with one another. That passion in his eyes radiated lowly against the reflections coming from the window adjacent to the bed. Don't ever think that you're worthless, because you're not. You're far from it. Konan's eyes widened slightly as she relayed the sweet words that echoed through her mind. It's almost like he was reading her mind, and the way his eyes bored into her own looked like he was peering right into her soul. How can he do that? Naruto smiled lightly as it was his turn to rub her hand. His thumb caressed her knuckles up and down, following the ridges and dipping between them. Konan didn't say anything as she felt the sensation sweep a flood of emotions through her being. Her eyes closed softly, wanting to break eye contact with him. That feeling she was receiving was unexpectedly relieving, and she felt a burning sensation in her chest as they laid there. What is going on with me? She questioned in a slight fear. She couldn't understand it. Her heart thumped roughly against her chest as she sat stone still, afraid to even shake the wrong way. She felt Naruto's hand move from hers, but she didn't dare to open her eyes. He would look at her with that look of his, that fiery gaze that she began to appreciate. He would rip her apart from the inside with that piercing stare. She couldn't afford his attention. She gasped. Naruto's hand found its way to her waist, and she couldn't help her eyes to burst open and see the orange-haired boy looking at her with such delicacy. Before she could react, Naruto pushed himself closer to her, and tucked his hand behind her head and pushed to his chest to have her nose pressed lightly against him. Konan tensed before she relaxed in Naruto's embrace. It seemed to calm her thoughts, and she didn't mind that one bit. "It's okay, Konan. I know you've been under a lot of stress recently." Konan breathed a little roughly against his shirt as they laid there serenely. This was the first time in a long time that she ever had anyone comfort her in this way. Finding someone who could be there for her in that way was nearly impossible, and she wouldn't doubt that if Naruto wasn't around, she wouldn't ever have this type of comfort again. Her thoughts trailed aimlessly as they laid there in their bliss, although there was one thing that kept reappearing in her conscience. "Hey, Naruto-kun? Do you still want to know about what my family was like?" She waited patiently, uncertain as to what Naruto was thinking. He probably didn't care about it anymore. Why would her life be important? It's all in the past now. It's most likely just a faded memory to him. She continued to wonder before she couldn't take the silence. She had to know his answer. It was killing her, Naruto-kun? Snore. Sigh. Konan furrowed her brow in frustration. It was at this moment that she realized Naruto was indeed a fast sleeper. She took a breath and slid her arms around Naruto and embraced him in his sleeping state. "I guess I'm going to have to get used to that. I can always tell him later anyway. There's no hurry." She left it with that final thought before she closed her eyes and fell into Naruto's rhythm. Little did she know, tomorrow would be the day she would see something that she would never forget. Life always has a way of coming back around full circle. Chapter 19, My Inner Demons. "Lady Tsunade, how are you feeling?" A groan echoed against the walls as a busted blonde woman laid in bed tiredly in a small room. A few medic were beside her futon checking her vitals and pulling blood for further evaluation. No one knew what happened to her because before all of this took place, she was completely fine. She even looked normal and had a slight pep in her step, but now her condition was worrisome to the woman by her side and even the medic who looked more nervous than usual as they continued their checkup. "I'm okay, Shizen," Tsunade softly answered as she lay there trying to wiggle free from the blankets. "My head is just killing me and I feel weak. It's hard to move." "Don't get up, Lady Tsunade," Shizen replied through tears. "You almost died." "Okay, Naruto. This is B. He is the host of the Eight Tails," Yamato answered sternly with his hand gestured to his left. The boy looked at the figure in question and thought with a hand to his chin, "This is the Eight Tails Jinchuriki?" B smiled reassuringly, "That I am, little man. B is my name, hosting is my game, we." Naruto blanched at the rhyming dispute from the man's mouth. In all honesty, he really didn't care for this weird way of talking. It kind of irritated him, to be honest. He just wanted to learn new things and be done with his mission. "And my name is Mote," a spiky-haired man said as he came up. "I am the supervisor of this island." He couldn't do without an introduction, could he? "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. It's an honor to meet you, B and Mote," the teen said, bowing ever so slightly. "Hey now, there's no need for all that," B replied, shaking his hands defensively. "All we need is a rap and a fist tap, you dig?" Naruto looked around worrisome as B stared patiently waiting for the genin to give him a good rhyme. The boy looked over to Yamato, and the man gave him an Itsalani look. His eyes peered over to Konan, who wasn't even looking at him. Her head was turned to the trees. Perhaps she was a little embarrassed at the situation. Naruto sighed in defeat and thought momentarily about a good rhyme. To be honest, singing or even rhyming weren't anything he was blessed with growing up. He had no reason to sing, and when he did, it sounded more like a screaming banshee than music. No, that won't work. Nah, that's too corny. Gah. I'll just try to spit something out and see what I can come up with. Although I'm slow, it isn't hard to flow. I can make a rhyme, pass the time and rewind the best line. Mighty fine. He blushed at the rushed sentences that came from his mouth. Truth be told, he felt extremely embarrassed at what he was saying. He couldn't believe how decent that rhyme actually was, although it was nothing that he would consider brilliant. The man in the dark goggles looked him over, and it put a lot of pressure on the boy with his scrutinizing stare. Moments felt like hours before the guy split his mouth into a grin. "Hey, nice work, boy. That spit wasn't so bad, don't be coy." Naruto smiled slightly as he brought his fist forward. Before long, Naruto broke out into a wide grin and bumped his fist into B's. "Follow me, little man," the older Jinchuriki replied as he turned. "We will go somewhere special." "Alright," Yamato spoke up, "I will have to go with Naruto. I am Naruto's supervisor and a trained Mokuton user." "What about Konan?" Naruto brought up. "Will she come too?" "Yes," Yamato replied sternly. "She has to be watched for any irregular behavior." Konan looked indifferent at the words that were said about her. She didn't really care at this point. She knew where she stood. "Very well," Moda responded, "let's walk. This is it. It's where I come to sit, listen to my heart, and think of myself a bit." Naruto's eyes darted around through a clearing that opened up to a massive waterfall with a tiny circular mound of an island in the center. It was a beautiful place that seemed to hypnotize Naruto as he gazed upon the waterfall. While hypnotizing, something else about the waterfall felt off. A little ominous, maybe. He couldn't pinpoint what it was, but it gave him slight goosebumps. Maybe the mist from the waterfall was getting to his skin. "This is the waterfall of truth," Moto spoke calmly as they walked closer to the water. "This is a preliminary step to gaining control of the bijou." The man walked across the water and motioned Naruto with his hand. "Step to the mound and sit down. Close your eyes and you will see the truth held within you." The boy looked around before walking to the mound and sitting down calmly. It reminded him a little of empty Myoboku. He gazed his eyes silently to the waterfall before closing them in a trance-like state. "Why do you try so hard to fit in? You know everyone is just playing with your emotions. Even Konan." Naruto looked up and saw a shadow cast within the waterfall. "Who's there?" "You know Konan is only playing with your emotions, right? She's only using you until she has her chance to kill you." A figure emerged from the water as the waterfall played through the unknown person's hair. "No one could ever like someone like you." Naruto's eyes widened as he saw what looked to be an exact copy of him walking towards the mound. "Who are you?" the Jinchuriki asked in caution. There was something strange about the boy walking up to him. "I didn't make any shadow clones." "I'm you. The real you," the darker Naruto replied. "I'm the one you try to hide every day." "Liar!" Naruto got up to his feet quickly and dashed towards the darker form. He went to quickly land a punch before he hit the other person's palm. "Huh?" The darker Naruto grinned devilishly before he proceeded to impact his fist into the normal Naruto's jaw. The force twirled the normal Naruto's body momentarily in the air before he fell in the water with a loud splash. Naruto gasped as he pulled his head up. "There's no way this guy is me? Is it?" It seemed kind of strange having another Naruto that resided within his mind. He never knew that one even existed until now. But regardless of him having another Naruto in his head, it wasn't the real Naruto. It was just a lump of hatred that built up over the years. Naruto didn't know what to do as he watched the other Naruto pull something out of his pocket. "You see, you can't beat me. I'm like you in every way, but I'm better," he smiled evilly as he stood there in his malice. The darker Naruto held something in his hand that fluttered lightly in the breeze from the waterfall. "Konan knows who you really are. She was an Akatsuki member. She opened you up and made you vulnerable. You're weak, you know." Naruto looked up and saw an orange flower in the dark Naruto's hand. "That's..." "Yes, this is the flower you made Konan," the darker half responded while looking down in what appeared to be melancholy. "What were you trying to prove with this? She's not even your friend. You forced her to Konoha with you and she'll always hate you for that." Naruto widened his eyes at the darker half's declaration. Konan would hate him. That's not true. I saved Konan's life. She didn't deserve to die. I could have left her in Amigakure, but then she would have sought Madara and only been killed. What do you know about anyone else? The darker Naruto yelled in annoyance. He then proceeded to crush the orange flower in his hand, leaving nothing but wrinkled paper. You've only cared about yourself. Since when have you ever cared about anyone else? You're right, Naruto said, sulking as he sat in the water staring at his legs. I was always angry at everyone for what they did to me. I always backlashed at myself for being so nice. I never thought that I would be seen for what I really am. Just as Naruto Uzumaki. The darker half grinned. So you agree that you need me? Naruto thought for a moment. Was this really what he needed? Did he really need that hatred? Of course it has helped him through some rough times, but in the end, it became a hindrance to who he is as a person. It caused him to do things he probably shouldn't have done. His rage almost caused the entire Leaf Village to be destroyed again when he fought Nagato. He almost released the Kyuubi and endangered everyone in the vicinity. Could he really afford to make these mistakes again? Naruto couldn't help but sigh as he stood up. There was something about all of this that got him to think deeply about the entire situation. He has to conquer his inner demon, his hatred that he kept for so long, even when he thought it was long gone. He's only trying to get into my head. I can't let him interfere with my thoughts any longer. I can't be mad at anyone for what they've done. At the end of the day, people are only people. How could I possibly be upset at anyone for doing the things they've done? Yes, they've hurt me, but only because they believed what they were told instead of looking underneath and finding the truth. Naruto widened his eyes in amazement. That's it. People aren't bad. It's the way they were taught that was bad. Who am I to judge someone with hatred in my heart over something so petty? What are you blabbering about now? Just admit that you need me, the darker Naruto replied with narrowed eyes. The main Naruto smiled with conviction in his eyes as he looked at his other half. I don't need you. What did you say? I said I don't need you, Naruto responded in finality. You've been a great help to me and all, but you aren't really needed anymore. A rage erupted in the darker half. What do you mean? Are you just going to forget about me? You can't because I'm a part of you. I will always be here. When you begin to feel your lowest, I will always be the one that you come to. You're right, Naruto replied quietly as his gaze fell to the ground. Then you know that. You're right that you're a part of me and that's what I have come to realize, Naruto rebutted. I know now that I must accept my hatred for what it is and let it go. I can't keep living with this undertone in my heart. He walked to his darker half as he kept talking. Konan accepts me for who I am. She has seen many things that gave her a better understanding of life. Maybe I need her more than I realized before. She's become a precious person, just like the others. She's a part of my everyday life now and I don't regret bringing her here. I don't regret staying in the Leaf Village. I don't regret anything that I have done until now. Everyone in the village accepts me now, and I can't let them down. I have to continue showing that I'm everything that they hoped for. The village's Orange Hokage. The darker Naruto looked at the real Naruto in confusion as he kept talking. Well, I know it's still a long way until a real peace can be achieved, but I want to help people see the truth. I want to be part of the reason why people can finally understand one another. I want everyone to be able to rest at night without having an underlying fear. I mean, we're not so different after all. We're all human. Naruto grinned a fox-like grin at his evil half with his hands behind his head. If anyone heard Naruto now, they would look twice and still wouldn't believe that he actually came up with these answers on his own. Usually, he would be known as the dense boy or just an idiot. He was oblivious to a lot of things and didn't really think too much about anything, but ever since he obtained his Rinnegan, things have been opened up to him that he wouldn't normally talk about. Things that he never would have seen or thought of before, it's true. Ever since I have had these eyes, I've been thinking a lot more. It could have just been him thinking about Sakura's death that got him pondering more on life and peace. Maybe it was his master's death that made him think. Maybe it was Nagato's whose death seemed to stump him with a lot of questions. Nagato was misunderstood. He lashed out and became the bad guy. But seen through certain eyes, his work could have been seen as good. A necessary evil perhaps. Naruto sighed inwardly. As he took in all of this information, it was everyone that caused me to reevaluate my conclusions. Shut up. The darker Naruto spat. In the end, you will come running to me. I'm the only one who can understand you. Sakura tried and failed. Sasuke couldn't even comprehend your friendship with him as a real one and Konan couldn't possibly be friends with you. She will never understand the pain that we've been through. She doesn't even know us. You're wrong. She does understand. Naruto yelled in conviction. She had it equally challenging and it's possible that she had it worse than we had. That I had. We're only human. Sometimes we have to play the cards we are dealt. She's not evil. She's not bad. She's. His eyes fell low as he thought about what he said next. She's alone. She doesn't have anyone else in her life. Naruto looked up to his other half's eyes again. That's why. I want to help her in any way that I can. People can warm up to her over time in Konoha. It's just that the war is still fresh in everyone's minds. She needs a chance to prove herself, and Granny has already given it to her. I will show her how much there truly is in Konoha. She deserves a break. We all do. How can you say that? The darker Naruto asked in confusion. She was the enemy. And what about Sakura? Don't you blame yourself because of that? You didn't arrive fast enough. Sai, you were right that I didn't show up fast enough, but there is nothing that can be done about that now. Sakura-chan wouldn't want me to continue beating myself up over her death, because she's my friend, Naruto said while smiling. In the end, I have to believe that I can achieve these goals. I have to believe in Konan. I have to believe in myself. You should too because you're not evil. You're just me. Sniff. The real Naruto looked on to the darker Naruto that started to weep silently. Tears fell lightly from his face as he fell to his knees. Before Naruto knew it, the darker half started to dissipate into nothing as he smiled softly at his answers. He found out a lot of things in such a short amount of time. He realized who he truly was and overcame it so easily. He never knew that he built up such a hatred in his heart. He thought it not as an entity, but rather something that comes and goes. And that's when he opened his eyes. B and the others watched as Naruto stood up in what appeared to only be 5 minutes' time. He saw Naruto's face and smiled reassured. Naruto turned to them all and gave a big thumbs up. B clapped in congratulations as he walked over to Naruto. Konan walked over to Naruto with a slight smile on her face. Naruto-kun was able to conquer his hatred so easily, and in 5 minutes no less. I didn't expect this outcome to turn out so well. He really is something else. VVVVVVV. Are you sure Konan-chan can't come in here? Yes, I'm sure, Yamato replied sternly. We have Guy watching over her in case she does something strange. We can't have her doing anything to you while you're trying to control the Kyuubi. Naruto only frowned in annoyance at his captain as they continued walking. He looked over to B with intrigue. So, this is the room where you learn how to control the Hachibi? Yeah, B said as they entered the entire White Chamber. Every Jinchuriki in my village has to come here to control their bijou. This is only for the case where if they couldn't control it and it gets released, then we have somewhere to contain them to keep them from escaping. He then looked over to Naruto. By the way, what seal keeps your bijou at bay? A tetragram seal, Naruto answered casually. Hey, that's impressive. Better than mine anyway, B replied while sitting down. So, do you have the key for it? Yeah. Okay, cool, B replied with a smile. Are you sure that the Kyuubi won't escape? Yamato asked with concern laced in his voice. It was a scary thought to have the 9 tails break free from Naruto and wreak havoc on the populace of the island. Don't worry, Captain Yamato. I will make sure that never happens. I can't let it happen. I have to do this. Naruto looked at his curled fists. I have to make sure that I succeed no matter what. This is for the people, for everyone that died and for myself. I will not fail. His face flew up with fierce determination that caused the other males to gaze at the boy with a slight admiration. Let's get started, the 8-tailed Jinchuriki said as they both sat together and bumped fists. Inside Naruto's mind. What are you doing here? Huh, just as mean as ever, aren't you? That's not working on me this time, Naruto said with a determined grin as he pulled off the paper that covered the circular lock on the sealed barred enclosure. The Kyuubi glared demonically through the cage at the boy as he watched him pull up his shirt. What are you up to now? The Jinchuriki didn't answer him as he filled his fingers with chakra and pushed into his stomach where the seal resided. He used his fingers and twisted as if he were opening a door, and the seal began to open on his stomach. He looked up and saw the cage lock twisting in a complex fashion as it slowly opened. Swap. Gwa! 9 tails erupted as he slashed his way out of the cage that held him in for so long. Naruto flew backward and did a small flip before landing on the ground with a strong thud. A second version of himself made of chakra formed beside him and stayed attached to his shoulder. His foot slid forward as he propelled toward the enraged fox. His memory kicked in from what B had told him earlier. He charged the fox quickly as the Hachibi appeared behind him and lassoed his tentacles around the Kyuubi, surprisingly, and ultimately bringing him down. Naruto, now's your chance. Naruto leaped forward with his chakra half beside him. Although things seemed they were going his way, the Kyuubi immediately ripped apart the tentacles that bound him in place. The Kyuubi's chakra half floated outward and made a grab for Naruto's chakra. The boy made a quick dodge but was immediately hit by a large paw that slung him sideways, throwing him to the ground. He pushed off the floor with his hands and swiftly dodged another paw slam. Damn, that fox is fast. I just have to dash, Naruto gasped as he saw the Kyuubi power up a chakra ball from his mouth. It got bigger and bigger until it was double the size of the Kyuubi itself. Before he knew it, the ball shot straight toward Naruto. The boy's eyes widened because he knew that there was no way he would be able to escape it. He braced for impact as things became dark. He slowly opened his eyes to realize that he was within something that was taking the blast. Octopops, he said in a breath of relief. The cocoon unraveled and deflated slowly into oblivion as the boy walked out of it. His eyes narrowed in determination as he gave the Kyuubi a thumbs up. Not bad, Kyuubi, but this won't last too much longer. I will make sure this ends now. Trying to control my power, are you, boy? The Kyuubi asked in amusement. You won't even come close to capturing it. I am evil incarnate. Naruto smirked as he activated his Rinnegan and Sage mode. His eyes slowly morphed into the two-tier irises. The color blended into a shade of maroon and his pupil no longer remained circular, but instead shaped itself into a rectangle. I'm gonna have to go all out if I want a chance at taking his chakra. The Kyuubi stared at the boy in curiosity. The fox cocked an eyebrow and knew that there was something a little unusual about Naruto's tone, and he was intrigued. The idiot seemed a little more cocky than usual. What did Naruto have up his sleeve to feel so confident about himself? He watched as the boy slung up his hands into the familiar hand sign and about 1,000 Narutos appeared, encircling the nine-tailed fox. Each pair began forming a Rinnegan. The main Naruto began forming an enormous sphere from his hand that made everyone in the room seem exponentially smaller. Get ready, you dumb fox. Your chakra is mine. All of the clones immediately darted towards the fox and jumped into the air. Most of them were swatted away, but not all of them. The rest flew their Rinnegan into the fox's fur. Tiny explosions scattered throughout the fox's body that caused him to roar in pain. His eyes widened as he saw a massive blue spiraling sphere hovering towards him. He was too busy trying to fend off the clones that he couldn't get out of the way fast enough. Bastard. Naruto rammed the blue sphere into the fox, completely ravaging his body in the process. The fox roared incomprehensibly as the Rinnegan grinded against his body. Noticing that he had a chance, Naruto slung his chakra half towards the Kyuubi's chakra half. His chakra counterpart began pulling feverishly at the fox's chakra. Slowly but surely, the chakra was being pulled out and draining the Kyuubi dry. The Kyuubi looked at this as an opportunity. He was weak, but he still had one card up his fur. He smiled devilishly as the darkness began to seep through his chakra. The darkness spread faster as the fox concentrated it further. It started to travel across into Naruto's chakra half, and as soon as it did, thoughts began emerging that Naruto thought he had left only recently. It's all my fault. Why did he have to go? I can't go on any further. Why am I even trying? Go away! You're worthless. Naruto gripped his head in confusion. These thoughts were overpowering his own concentration and will. He felt tremendous pain and rage that permeated through his entire body. It was uncontrollable and quite difficult to even register. What is this? It hurts. He squinted in frustration and possible exhaustion. He lost concentration and his eyes reverted back to his normal eye color, although something was wrong. Very wrong. His left eye began to darken. See? The Kyuubi grinned. There's no way that you can control this hatred. Your hatred was only a tiny fraction of what I am. You're weak. I'm weak, Naruto replied, his voice laced with depression. His overwhelming emotion from the Kyuubi's enhanced chakra put him to his knees as he sat there trying to fight it. Don't ever come back here. A faceless voice yelled angrily, "Get out of here!" "No. Stay," a warmer voice replied, "Stay here." "Naruto." The orange-haired boy widened his eyes. The voice was soothing, almost melodic. It was a complete contrast to the dark voices that slowly began taking over his mind. In the white void, a figure slowly appeared with a white shirt and green long dressing. The figure was female. She carried herself lightly on her feet as she moved forward, but what really struck Naruto's chord was the woman's unusually dark red hair. "Hey, who are you? How do you know my name?" Naruto didn't know this person, and he wasn't just going to get all friendly with someone he just met, even if it was within his subconscious. "How about you guess who I am, Naruto?" the woman asked with a smile. Naruto furrowed his brow as he looked at her with scrutinizing eyes. There was only one thing that came to his mind, the red hair set it off for him. "Don't tell me you're the real form of the Nine-Tails Fox." The woman widened her eyes before she guffawed loudly at the boy. Naruto glared at her as she continued, "You have a scary laugh. Don't trick me by taking this female F." Whap. "Hey! You're wrong, you know!" The woman screamed at him while bashing her fist into his noggin. Naruto groaned in pain as he registered what the woman said. "You know? Oh, silly me, I guess Minato didn't tell you much about me." "Sorry about that," Kushina responded while scratching her head embarrassed. Naruto's eyes widened exponentially as he stared at the woman with the gorgeous long red hair. There was something about her that drew him in. The green eyes that held nothing but warmth within them. The way she held herself as she stood there in that space. "That's right, Naruto. I'm Dash." "Whup?" The boy rushed quickly to the woman and grabbed her tightly. The level of emotion was intense as he trembled. His arms wrapped around to her back and didn't want to let go. It was hard for him to contain himself, as he cried softly right then and there. Years of withholding feelings broke through all too easily. The woman could only sigh as the boy held on to her. This was a moment that she had been waiting for. This was a moment he was waiting for. Something that he never would have believed would happen. He saw his mother. "Mom, there's so much that I want to ask you." She grinned as she looked at her son. "We can talk for a little while." But first she proceeded by releasing her chains within Naruto and shooting them to the Kyuubi in a binding hold. The chains wrapped around the demon fox forcefully as he laid there trapped. "These are Kushina!" the fox roared maniacally. He didn't think he would ever see this again, and it gave him an undeniable itch. "There. That ought to buy us some time," the woman sighed in exasperation and closed her eyes. She never really liked having to deal with the Nine Tails, but it had to be done if she ever wanted to spend time with her son. "Now, how are you, Naruto-kun?" The boy grinned like an idiot as he heard his mother's sweet voice. It was an odd feeling. Seeing his mother after all of this time really eased a lot of feelings of discontent within him. He burst with excitement just being within breathing distance of her. "Oh, I'm doing okay," he replied, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. "I'd been through a lot growing up, but I always stuck it out." Kushina smiled at her son with a tender feeling. "That's good to hear. I'm glad that you were strong this entire time. It probably wasn't easy being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." Naruto looked down in slight sadness. "It must have hit a soft spot, yeah. It wasn't that easy. But like I said, I held on and kept moving forward." The son looked at his mother unsure as she observed him and looked him over. There was something that was obviously bothering her. I don't know what to say about it, so I'm just going to come right out with it. Why is your hair orange?" "I remember it being blonde when you were born," she said with a flat face. "Oh," he laughed, "I don't know. My hair was blonde and then it became orange. Captain Yamato said that maybe my genes were fighting dominance over the other. I don't know. It's very confusing." Kushina said with her curiosity piqued, "Maybe your hair will turn red eventually? Wouldn't that be interesting? Then you could have the same hair as your mom. At least it would match your face," she said with a grin, waving her hand in the air dismissively. "Come on, Mom, it was already hard enough to say goodbye to my blonde hair," he said with an exaggerated tear. "I don't think red hair would match me." Kushina held her hand to her mouth to stifle a giggle that burst forth from Naruto's reactions. The boy looked at his mother when she did that and blushed profusely. He never heard it before, and even then, the way she laughed and about him in particular was very intriguing. "Hey Mom," Naruto grinned ear to ear as he saw her look up at him. "I just wanted to know. How did you meet Dad?" VVVVVVVVVV. So, Kushina started with an unusual glint in her eyes. "Who's that woman that you're with? Is she your girlfriend?" Naruto's eyes widened to the size of saucers as he threw his hands up in the air. What? No, she's not my girlfriend. I mean, she's just a friend. She trains me, you know, and we spend a lot of time together and stuff. Plus, she wouldn't even like me anyway, yes. Easy, Naruto, the woman responded gently. Naruto looked up to see her talk with softened eyes. There's nothing wrong with her being older than you. Huh? Naruto asked, bewildered. He really wasn't expecting his own mother to say something like that. Wouldn't she find it weird? Wait a minute. What am I saying? What do you mean? Kushina sighed as she closed her eyes. She twiddled her thumbs idly as she spoke calmly to her son. Well, I don't necessarily approve of the age gap between the two of you, but she smiled warmly and moved her hand to rest comfortably on the boy's shoulder. I know love is a powerful thing, so I couldn't stop you even if I wanted to. The young boy lowered his eyes in embarrassment. His mom was talking about Konan like that. It was really unusual for him to hear such encouraging words from his mother about a woman that she didn't even know. Just make sure, the woman started again, that she likes you before you try anything. Always be a gentleman to her. Naruto looked up to his mother again. He didn't understand at all. What was going on? He figured that his mother wouldn't ever say anything like that, but how can you trust her so much? You don't even know her. The redhead chuckled at that. Easy. I've watched her through your eyes. I know who she is and I've even seen the way she acts. She's just been through some tough times, Naruto-kun. She smiled with closed eyes as she continued, she needs someone there for her. Someone to save her as Minato was to save me. I can tell that you've done something to her. You changed her, Naruto, and I believe that she feels indebted to you. The boy looked over to her despondently. She did say a couple of times that she owes me. I didn't want her to feel that way, but what could I do about that? I know, son. Women are a lot more complicated than they may seem to you. Kushina smiled knowingly about her statement and looked into the white sky. I think there is more to her than you believe. She then looked down into her hands. It's kind of hard to imagine what Konan-san may have been through. But she needs someone there for her now more than ever. Naruto nodded his head as he continued listening. She isn't the same woman that you saw when you first met her. Her closest friends and family members are gone now. She doesn't have anyone left for her except for you. Naruto looked in despair to the groundless void as his mother continued. You're the only thing keeping her moving. You're the reason why she is starting to look at life in a different light. You've caused a great impact on her life and great memories may have been gained along the way. I don't think she knows how she feels yet, but I do know, she has feelings for you. Naruto's face heated up to a dark shade of red. What? Say that again? The woman giggled again at Naruto's question. She has feelings for you, Naruto. The orange-haired boy widened his eyes in amazement. Whatever eye contact he had with his mother was now broken. There's just no way. His mind began running at Mach 3 speed. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Konan has feelings for him? It's not possible. She couldn't. Inconceivable. Memories flooded his mind as he processed this new information. He wasn't really that smart when it came to actual science. His mother telling him that one of his closest people actually has feelings for him was really impacting. He thought about the incident when the Kumo ninja beat him within an inch of his life and Konan showed up threatening to kill anyone. He thought about the many hugs that he received from the paper angel. She seemed to really enjoy every single one. He felt warmth from her hugs. He also thought about the time that they first kissed in the tent. How passionate she was in kissing him. She said it was an accident, but could it really be something that they should forget? He thought about when she broke down and cried on him. How she truly gave herself into Naruto. He remembered the smiles that she would throw his way and the caring nature that she developed towards him. There were so many memories of her. She changed. She became the total opposite of what she had become during her role as an Akatsuki member. Most of all, she became beautiful, not just in body, but in spirit. She started to shine and glow with happiness. Mom, I don't really know what to say, the boy answered in a sigh. It's okay, Naruto-kun. You have plenty of time to figure all of these things out for yourself, Kushina answered with a smile. Just as quickly as she smiled, a devilish smirk appeared on her face. Hi, I never expected my son to be the older woman type. Naruto blushed brightly at his mother's blunt statement. He waved his hand in dismissal at her. Nah, I still don't believe that she likes me like that. That would just be silly. You could say that, although that kiss she gave you is pretty intimate, if I do say so myself. I mean, I used to kiss Minato like that, and he would slide his hands. Gaha. No. Bleh, I don't want to hear that, he replied, sticking his tongue out at the image. Kushina laughed loudly at his antics and smiled so brightly at Naruto when he showed his true self. These moments were moments that she wished that she had with her son, and now she had the opportunity to do so, if only for this short time with him. It was a truly wonderful sensation. I'm so happy, Kushina replied wistfully. Now I can say something that I've been meaning to say for quite some time now. Naruto looked onward to his mother rather curiously. What is it? She smiled ever so softly and looked him in the eyes. I love you. Naruto's eyes stared into hers before he blushed and laughed in embarrassment. Hearing his mother say that made him feel great. Empowering in a sense. The real Naruto that was holding the Kyuubi with chakra chains received the clone's memories shortly after that conversation with his mother. He felt calm, relieved, soothed, happy. His brow furrowed as he pushed with all of his might to dispel the evil chakra that was taking him over. It receded rather quickly and surprised the Kyuubi at the sudden change. The fox started ripping the chains off of him in a fervent attempt to fight back before things got out of hand. Luck wasn't in his favor though, as Naruto threw his hands up again to release another 1,000 shadow clones. All of the clones began forming more Rasengan as they charged after the slightly weakened Kyuubi. Just as quickly as the Rasengan were formed, every clone received Sage Mode and their Rasengan grew 100 times the size of the clones themselves. Every clone sent their Utama Rasengan into the body of the helpless Kyuubi, who only roared out in anguish once more. Where did all of this power come from? It forced the Kyuubi to stand his ground as he slid backwards forcefully. He looked up after he stopped moving and saw Naruto approaching him with a spiraling Rasengan that increased to 100 times its average size and then threw it towards the Kyuubi in a last-ditch effort. It hit the Kyuubi with a massive explosion, blowing him backward as a few dozen clones pulled intensely at the fox's chakra. Before he knew it, the chakra separated entirely from the fox and started to attract to the only other chakra holder in the room. It slowly seeped into Naruto's skin as he stood there absorbing what he stole from the Kyuubi. His body began to glow a bright gold. Flames licked around his shoulders and his clothes as he stood there in awe. Naruto! You've pissed me off. I can't let you get away. The Kyuubi roared as he started forming another Bijou bomb. His body slowly started fading the longer he pushed his chakra into the attack. Wow! To think that you still have that much chakra left, Naruto said with amazement before he twisted the seal on his stomach. Large wooden structures fell from the sky and captured the Kyuubi in place. He couldn't move. He had been trapped again. Naruto, you will regret this. The gate closed once more and locked in place as the Kyuubi slowly lost consciousness. Naruto looked onward towards the fox as he lowered his eyes in sadness. Don't worry, Kyuubi. I won't keep you like this forever. Just give me some time. You did it, Naruto-kun, Kushina said happily. It was a major achievement to see her son accomplish such an amazing feat. He could finally use the Kyuubi's chakra with control. She hugged him softly and looked up to him. Now I can finally join Minato. Naruto cast his eyes downward as he heard his mother say that. He was finally getting accustomed to seeing his mother, and she had to leave already. It left him feeling bitter and a little lonely. He thought quickly of a last few-minute things that needed to be answered. His mother was one of the last Uzumaki that knew anything about his heritage. He needed to know what happened. Something Nagato said really caught his interest in that moment. Hey mom, who massacred the Uzumaki, and why do the Uzumaki have Rinnegan and no one ever told me? Kushina looked at her son a little strange, huh? What do you mean? That really piqued his interest. Well, you said that you came to Konoha to become the next Bijou host. Yeah, that's right. Well, who massacred the Uzumaki? Kushina looked at her son rather strangely. Who told you we were massacred? And the Rinnegan? I don't gasp. Oh no, Kushina retorted rather abruptly. My energy is fading. I don't have much left. Naruto widened his eyes as he saw his mother disappearing before his very eyes. Getting desperate, he tried to hug his mother only to brush through her energy. MOM. I love you, Naruto. You're everything I hoped you would become. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for you, she cried lightly. It's fine. I love you too, he answered with a sob. But I still want to answer your question. He rubbed his eyes dry with his sleeve. It was a man named Nagato Uzumaki, he said in a hurry. He was the one who told me that the Uzumaki were massacred. Kushina's eyes widened unexpectedly. Huh? Naga to Uzuma. Chapter 20, Old Ways. Naruto opened his eyes to the witnessing spectators and saw a look of shock written upon their faces. It had been a while since people have looked at him like that, and it left him to ponder just what exactly got them so worked up. It wasn't until B smiled that he began to lighten his mood about the situation. He carefully looked down to his hands and noticed a bright yellow flame encasing his arms. But not only his arms were inflamed, the rest of his body danced in a euphoric light. That's right, my man! You did it! B shouted out as he bumped fists with the golden boy. Good work, Naruto, Yamato responded with a sincere smile. I'm very proud of you. Thanks, guys, the boy responded, as he looked himself over again. He could feel his senses open far beyond whatever he had felt before. Even when he was in his tailed form, he never felt as much as he did now. Which reminded him, he was feeling an unusual aura around them. It didn't really feel nice. It felt rotten. It pinpointed to the sword that lay on the back of B. Hey, you think you can hide? What? How did he find me? A surprised Kisame thought as he ran over several escape scenarios in his head. What? I don't detect anyone here, Yamato replied while turning in a defensive posture. I don't feel chakra, Naruto responded as his hand flew up pointing towards the sword on B's back. I feel a sense of evil in that sword. Just as soon as he said that, Samahata leaped off of B's back and ran towards the wall. I didn't expect this turn of events. His sword body scurried over to the wall where the door opened for his escape. Flabbergasted, Yamato blurted, how did he even know how to open the door? Ha! Shouted Kisame, they don't call me an Akatsuki for nothing. Before Kisame could even smell the front entrance, a lightning flash blew all the way to the other side of the room and impaled against the slippery shark man. Everyone in the room were amazed at such speed and precision that impact hit the shark. He looked up and hissed in pain as he fell to the floor. Naruto's foot managed to crumble the wall easily, and his foot was unmovable and possibly broken as he tried to pull it free. Ah! That was a stupid move. I should have done something else, the Jinchuriki moaned in his mind as he attempted to pull free but to no avail. Kisame took this minor incident as an escape opportunity, and snaked his way out of the tailed beast room. I have to get away from that brat. His scurries dissipated as Yamato tried to help Naruto out of the wall. His foot dropped pieces of debris onto the ground as he put his foot down, only to wince as soon as pressure was applied. Yamato noticed his distress and wrapped his arm underneath the Jinchuriki's shoulder for support. Looks like you sprained your ankle. I'll help you out of here. Naruto grinned a little while limping. Yeah, I made a mistake. Haha. Don't worry, Captain Yamato. It will heal in a couple of minutes. I'm going after the spy. I can't let him get by. B shouted in his usual rap as he dashed out of the room, leaving the others behind. VVVVV. Konan and the others waited patiently outside of the waterfall as time ticked away. She was leaned against a tree with her eyes closed, lost in thought. She couldn't really help it. Although she had faith in Naruto and his ability to control the Kyuubi, she still felt concerned about the overall process. She didn't know what was going on in there, and no one trusted her enough to allow her through. Her curiosity piqued about the waterfall. When she watched Naruto fight his inner battle, she couldn't help but wonder if she could go up there and face her own inner demons, but Naruto-kun did it. Surely, if he can fight his inner battle and win, then it shouldn't be much more difficult for myself. Her ruminations were interrupted as she took a breath and opened her eyes. She could do this. It wasn't like it was deadly or anything. It wasn't that at all. It was her fear getting to her. She was afraid. Afraid of truth that was always locked away in her mind. She was afraid of realizing her wrongs. Afraid of losing to her inner self. She wanted to try at least. She wanted to do what Naruto did. She is strong. She needs to realize her inner problems, bring them to a head, and get rid of them once and for all. "Excuse me," Konan asked while walking towards the caretaker. The man's gaze swayed to his right. "What is it?" "I was curious to know if I can use your waterfall?" she asked in uncertainty. She wasn't sure if the man would even allow her to use that waterfall without his permission, and she didn't want to just walk up to it herself. The man smiled as he looked at her. "Sure. I don't see why not. If you want to find your inner balance, then you can certainly use it. Just remember," he spoke while pointing his finger as if he's directing her, "keep your eyes closed during the session, otherwise, you'll break out of the concentration." Konan nodded slightly as she started walking towards the mound. "Thank you." She didn't want to tell him her life story or anything and just left it as that. The others there watched as she walked onto the mound and sat cross-legged facing straight into the falling water. The mist hit her skin and gave her slight goosebumps as she got into position. Her hands came together in a meditative position and she closed her eyes. The entire thing felt mystifying, but she couldn't relent. Her heart told her that she should follow in Naruto's footsteps. He could accomplish it, surely she could as well. She needed to. If she wanted to be his protector and guide for the future of the world, then she should do her part. She relaxed her breathing as she slowly lost herself in thought. "What do you think you're doing?" Another voice asked, breaking the silence. "Do you really think that you're useful? Anyone can tell that you're trying too hard." Konan opened her eyes and saw a shadow through the waterfall. It took the shape of a person. "You're pathetic, you know. You latch on to anyone as long as you're not alone. You always try to tell yourself that you're making a difference when all you do is fail in your endeavors." "Show yourself," Konan responded with slight annoyance. "If you insist," the person responded as they walked through the waterfall to reveal a woman. Another Konan with darkened eyes. She grinned evilly as she took more strides towards the original one. "It's quite funny. You've locked me away for so long and I never really felt what it was like being outside for a change," she snorted in laughter. "You finally freed me. It took you long enough." Konan looked at the woman in front of her and found that she was an exact copy of her currently, although her eyes were darkened in an ominous tone. "Are you my inner self?" "Of course, I'm the real you. I'm the thoughts that you try to hide every day. I'm your worst nightmares come to life," the darker Konan retorted harshly. "You always try to deny reality. Everything here is pointless. You know Madara is right with the things he says, don't you?" Konan looked at the fake with narrowed eyes. "That is not true. His view of life is distorted and he only thinks of himself." "Are you sure about that? Chaos has always ravaged the world, but with the pure intention of making the world whole again. The world will never stay safe. There will always be war and death. It is a cycle that never ends. What makes a kid any different compared to the thousands that have tried to make a change?" The darker Konan asked with a frown and furrowed eyebrows. "Don't you remember your life? War was always on your mind. You cried yourself to sleep and never once thought it would get better. When Yahiko-kun died, you lost hope as much as Nagato. You never thought things would change. That's why you followed Nagato-kun and his plans." Konan's gaze fell to the floor as she took in what her darker half said. Her darker half was right. She really did give up when Yahiko died. The love that she had for that man was something that she greatly appreciated. He was her beacon because he never gave up. His intentions were pure. You could tell by the way he talked, and how people followed him so passionately. Even Jiraiya knew that there was something special about them. But it all changed when Yahiko died in front of them. In front of Nagato. They knew it all too well. That last hope that they ever had died when Yahiko died. Konan's expression grew forlorn as her thoughts took over, and the darker Konan smiled in a cocky grin. I remember, when Yahiko died, that I never felt that bad in my entire life. Everything crumbled down on that day. After that day, I grew colder and Nagato lost sight of himself and he felt obligated to take it out on everyone else. He started to believe that it was everyone's fault. He wanted to change the world by getting rid of the problem at the root, but her eyes shifted around in thought. He didn't want to change the problem in the hearts of the people. He would have rather killed them. Even I know now that this way of thinking was deranged. Then why did you go along with it for so long then? The dark Konan asked in a curious tone. It's because you were lost and alone. You couldn't handle going back to the days when you were by yourself. How pitiful, she snorted ruefully. Maybe you'll learn from your mistakes and realize how much I've actually done for you. Konan looked at her opponent before her. She seemed to know her deepest secrets very well. Of course she did. She was a part of her. Her darker part of her, but a part of her nonetheless. But there was nothing that her darker half could say that could change her now. She didn't say anything, but she did smile slightly at her own thoughts. The past that she had was always a haunting one, but she's moved on from that. Naruto, Dark Konan said softly. Konan's head shot up at hearing the name being mentioned. What about him? That boy isn't your friend. At the end of the day, whatever relationship you have with him will vanish just like the others, she said with a snort while throwing her hands up. What's even funnier is the fact that he killed Nagato. You're friends with your friend's killer. You've betrayed Nagato and his intent. Now you hold it right there. Konan angrily spouted. Why would you ever doubt something like that when we know that Nagato set Naruto up with us intentionally? Even you can't deny that Nagato changed his ways after Naruto-kun talked to him. He set Nagato on the right path again. Even though it didn't last very long, he was able to atone for those past mistakes that he made and even helped me understand exactly what the true path was all along. The darker Konan looked down in Confronting as she clenched her fist. You know it won't last. What won't last? She retorted with suspicion. This relationship that you have with Naruto will not last. She responded vehemently, and with a tinge of sadness, this life that you live mocks you. You're not even supposed to be alive and yet here you are. This partnership that you have with Naruto will not bloom into anything more than a small friendship built on trust. Nothing more. I don't know what you're talking about. Dark Konan's eyes narrowed. Don't play a fool. Even I know that your feelings are growing for him. To be honest, it's unbecoming of you. An older woman falling for a boy barely old enough to be an adult. How low can you fall? Konan's gaze shifted over to the side in embarrassment. We don't have that type of relationship. We aren't the same and feelings only get in the way. We've only grown stronger by building our friendship, but I never expected it to go any further than that. You only lie to yourself, the darker half responded roughly, bringing her hand to rest her fingertips on her forehead in annoyance. Your connection with him goes far beyond just friendship. You really want there to be something more there, and you keep trying harder and harder to make it happen. You always feel alone, and you're only clinging to whoever comes your way. Just forget about it. It will never happen. You're just too old. That statement left Konan feeling bitter. Her hand clutched against her chest, and she breathed an uneasy sigh. But it's not like that. I would never. Her thoughts spiraled as she recollected her memories. Her memories didn't lie. There were scenes that she couldn't believe that she did. Times where things felt more like home. She felt more warm being around the orange-haired boy. The feelings that she felt. The time she shared with him. The laughs. The trust. The compassion. The love? You're pathetic, the darker half responded as she got into a stance. Papers slowly started falling off of her body and circled her. I guess I should beat some sense into you. Get it through your thick head, it will never happen. Konan looked up with widened eyes and saw the darker version of herself rush forward with paper wings. Konan-san! Huh! Konan replied confused as she looked ahead and saw an object shooting through the waterfall. Her counterpart disappeared and what was left was this strange sharp object zipping straight for her. Not today! A man shouted as he countered the object by elbowing it out of the way. A loud smack was heard through the area as the object that looked kinda like a bug or a strange fish collided with the rocky mountainside of the waterfall. You should know better than to sneak up on someone. What? You guys already stopped the Akatsuki spy, B shouted while coming through the waterfall. It must have taken one try to subdue the guy. The strange insect looked at the spandex-clad man in confusion before realization dawns on Kisame's face. You're the green beast. My guy paled at the strange creature before him. Is that a puffer fish? He is not a puffer fish, although an Akatsuki spy is correct. It's Kisame Hashigaki, Konan told them with conviction. I'll never forget that face. She stuffed her other thoughts down for later as she looked down at the fish man. It's been a while, Kisame. The fish man looked up to the woman with a slightly surprised face before changing one to that of an interesting upward curve of his lips. What an interesting change of events.